every step placed. Faith, focus, and the making of Brian Hill. Introduction. I am Brian Hill. There was a time when my life looked like motion, constant, relentless, loud. Work was my worship, control was my comfort, and progress was my proof that I was doing something right. But underneath all that motion, I was searching for meaning. I was chasing the next win, the next build, the next moment that would finally make me feel complete. I learned the hard way that success without alignment is just exhaustion with a title. You can outwork everyone in the room and still not be walking in your purpose. For years, I was the man who refused to slow down. I lived by no time wasted. Every hour had to prove itself. Every silence had to be filled with movement. But time taught me something. Sometimes slowing down is discipline. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is surrender. Surrender isn't weakness. It's trust. It's saying, God, I don't need to force what you've already placed. When I finally understood that, my whole world shifted. The grind didn't stop, it evolved. The discipline didn't die, it deepened. That's how this book was born. Not out of ambition, but alignment. Not out of pressure, but purpose. The making of a builder. I'm a founder, but more than that. I'm a builder. I've built from chaos, from stillness, from loss, and from grace. I created So Much Fun collection to bring color and joy to streetwear, to remind people that rebellion and refinement can coexist. I built Watchlist Trades to teach structure, discipline, and clarity, to help people move through the market the same way they move through life. Patient, aware, and precise. But every brand, every move, every word I've ever put out into the world has been part of a larger design, a reflection of growth from the ground up. This isn't a book about business. It's about becoming. It's about learning that your calling doesn't compete with your discipline. It completes it. Faith, focus, execution. These are my 3 pillars. Faith keeps me grounded when life gets loud. Focus keeps me disciplined when the world gets distracted. Faith gives me peace. Focus gives me clarity. Execution gives me proof. Every season of my life has tested one of those 3. And every time, God used the test to sharpen my alignment. Because discipline without faith becomes obsession. Faith without discipline becomes fantasy. But together, they form something unbreakable: foundation. Every step placed. I don't believe in wasted time anymore. Even the moments that broke me were building me. Even the detours were directions. Even the silence had sound, if I was still enough to listen. This book is a record of that truth. It's my open journal, the one written between mistakes, breakthroughs, conversations, and revelations. It's not a manual for perfection. It's a map for alignment. I'm not here to teach you how to be me. I'm here to show you how to recognize you, to see the divine order in your chaos, the lesson in your loss, and the placement in every step you take. So whether you're a dreamer, a founder, a trader, a creator, or someone just trying to find your rhythm again, this is for you. Because your path is not random. And your next step might be the one that aligns everything. I am Brian Hill. I don't chase time anymore. I walk with it. Every step placed. Table of contents. Introduction. I am Brian Hill. Faith, focus, execution. Chapter 1. The fire before the flame. Before there was alignment, there was hunger. Chapter 2. The call to surrender. Letting go to gain clarity. Chapter 3. Faith as a framework. Faith isn't blind. It's focused. Chapter 4. Growth from the ground. Nothing planted in faith stays buried. Chapter 5. The market and the mind. Patience is the language of both profit and peace. Chapter 6. Alignment in action. Peace is proof you're in position. Chapter 7. Leadership in the light. True authority isn't taken, it's trusted. Chapter 8, The Reset Years. Silence is not the end of sound, it's the space that gives it meaning. Chapter 9, Every Step Placed. Purpose doesn't rush, it aligns. Chapter 10, The Legacy. Legacy isn't what you leave behind, it's what you live in real time. The Testament, closing declaration, no time wasted. Every step placed. Chapter 1, The Fire Before the Flame. Before there was alignment, there was hunger. Before peace, there was pressure. Before I found balance, I built a war inside myself. I didn't start with clarity, I started with fire. The kind of fire that burns through excuses and sleep. The kind of fire that doesn't know the difference between passion and punishment. Back then, movement meant meaning. If I wasn't working, I felt worthless. Every morning was a race. Every night was a report card. How much did I do? How much did I prove? How much closer was I to being enough? That's how No Time Wasted was born. It wasn't just a slogan, it was a shield. It was how I hid from stillness, how I convinced myself that constant motion was purpose. But what I didn't know then is that you can move fast and still go nowhere. You can fill every second and still feel empty. Because effort isn't the same as evolution. The early hustle. I worked like time was my enemy. I treated sleep like a luxury I hadn't earned yet. Every idea was a ladder, every task a test. I'd look at people coasting through life and think, they don't want it enough. What I didn't realize is that wanting it too much can blind you to why you wanted it in the first place. I was proud of my grind, proud of how relentless I could be. But the truth is, I was building from fear. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of slowing down. Fear that if I stopped, the world would move on without me. That kind of fear disguises itself as discipline. It looks sharp from the outside, but it eats you from within. People admired the drive, but they couldn't see the cost. They saw the results, brands, motion, attention, but not the exhaustion. They didn't see the quiet arguments between who I was and who I thought I had to be. I was creating but not connecting, succeeding but not settling into the success, collecting wins but losing wonder. When you live in survival mode long enough, peace feels suspicious. Rest feels like failure. Stillness feels like a setup. That's where I lived, in the tension between more and enough. The inner conversation started small. Little whispers between late nights and early mornings. A voice asking, "What are you really chasing?" At first, I drowned it out with noise, music, work, people, motion. But God has a way of turning the volume down on everything that isn't Him. Soon, every success came with a question attached. I didn't have the answers yet, but the questions started breaking my pride open. And once your pride cracks, light gets in. The spark of awareness. Somewhere between exhaustion and awakening, I began to sense it, that what I was chasing wasn't wrong, but the way I was chasing it was. My work wasn't the enemy. My intention was. I was using discipline to control life instead of letting it shape me. That realization didn't hit like thunder. It crept in like dawn. Soft, persistent, unavoidable. It whispered, "You don't need more fire. You need direction for the fire you already have." Lessons from the flame. Looking back, I'm grateful for that season. Because the grind gave me grit. The hunger taught me humility. The pressure revealed my purpose. I learned that your ambition will either consume you or complete you. It depends on who you hand it to. When I finally handed mine to God, He didn't extinguish it. He refined it. The same fire that once burned me started to build me. That's when I began to understand the difference between a flame that destroys and a flame that develops. And that understanding became the bridge to everything that came next. Reflection, the fire check. Ask yourself, Is my work coming from faith or from fear? Do I rest because I trust or because I'm tired? Am I chasing progress or am I being prepared? If the fire inside you burns without peace, it's not purpose, it's panic. And no title, paycheck, or applause can cool that down. Only alignment can. Next came surrender, the hardest and most freeing lesson of all. Chapter 2. The Call to Surrender. Surrender doesn't announce itself. It doesn't come wrapped in light or thunder. Sometimes it arrives in silence. In the middle of your best plans, when the world is clapping for you, and you still feel empty inside. That's how it came for me. Not as a breakdown, as a conversation. It started as a whisper. You've done everything your way. Now let me lead. I ignored it at first, the same way we all ignore things that threaten our control. I told myself I was fine, busy, productive, focused. But deep down, I knew I wasn't leading anymore. I was chasing. I was spinning in the same cycle, fighting for outcomes I couldn't force. Surrender was calling, and I was too proud to answer. The moment of stillness. There's a moment in every builder's life when work stops working. You've done everything right, the hours, the grind, the strategy, but the results don't feel the same. That's when you meet stillness. Stillness doesn't care about your titles, your trophies, or your to-do list. It strips you back to silence and says, "Now who are you without the noise?" First, I hated that question. Stillness felt like punishment. Felt like losing the edge that made me different. But stillness wasn't taking something from me. It was giving me back what I had lost. Awareness. When you've lived too long in motion, awareness feels uncomfortable. It forces you to face yourself, to see the habits you hide behind your goals, to recognize how fear dresses up as focus. That's when I realized the truth. I wasn't afraid to fail. I was afraid to stop performing long enough to hear my purpose. The conversation with God. It wasn't dramatic. No thunder, no tears. Just a conversation. Me in my room, sitting, thinking, conflicting with myself, and God laid me my blueprint. And I didn't answer, because I knew if I said yes, it would cost me control. Then I asked back, "What did you surrender to?" And he said, "Myself." That hit me hard, because I had surrendered before, but to myself, to my own ambition, to my own timeline, to my own plans, and that's why I kept burning out. When I finally stopped talking and just listened, I heard it clearly, "You don't have to chase what I've already written for you." That one line rewired everything. Surrender isn't soft. A lot of people think surrender means weakness, giving up, stepping back, losing drive. But real surrender takes more courage than control ever did. Control is built on fear. Surrender is built on trust. Control says, "I can fix it." Surrender says, "Even if I can't, I believe it will be fixed." That doesn't mean you stop working. It means you stop forcing. You still build, but from guidance instead of grind. Once I started leading from surrender, I noticed the difference instantly. My work didn't lose intensity, it gained intention. My goals didn't shrink, they became clearer. I was no longer driven by fear of losing time. I was walking in the truth that every step already had a place. The weight of ego. Ego is the loudest liar in the room. Tells you that slowing down means losing. Tells you that peace means weakness. Tells you that if you're not in control, you're being controlled. But ego doesn't understand faith. Faith thrives in surrender. I had to let my ego die a little to make room for direction. That's what surrender really is, the burial of your need to be right, so something greater can rise inside you. When I finally surrendered, I didn't lose ambition. I lost my anxiety. I didn't lose my hunger. I lost the pressure to prove it. And the more I let go, the more I realized I had never been working alone. Clarity through calm. Once I surrendered, life started speaking differently. Opportunities didn't feel like tests anymore. They felt like placement. Even challenges carried peace with them because I could finally see the lesson inside the loss. It's not that everything got easier, it's that I got clearer. And clarity is heavier than chaos, but it carries purpose. Now, I don't pray for success. I pray for stewardship. I don't ask for faster paths. I ask for stronger feet, because I've learned that when you're truly surrendered, you stop asking when. You start asking how. How can I walk through this season with grace? How can I honor what I already have? How can I become what God built me to be? That's surrender. That's power. Reflection. The release. Ask yourself, what am I still trying to control that God already covered? Where in my life am I resisting peace because I don't trust it? If I stopped fighting for a moment, what lesson might finally reach me? Surrender isn't losing your edge. It's sharpening your direction. It's learning that the same fire that built you can burn you if you don't let it breathe. And when I finally exhaled, that's when alignment began. Chapter 3, Faith as a Framework. Epigraph. Faith isn't blind, it's focused. Faith isn't something I just believed in. Faith became something I had to build with, like steel, like structure, like the unseen frame beneath everything that stands tall. You can decorate a house, but if the foundation is weak, one storm will tell the truth. That's what happened to me. I had all the decor, the drive, the vision, the talent, the goals, but my structure was built on speed, not spirit. The quiet blueprint. When I started learning what real faith looked like, I stopped asking God for signs. Instead, I started asking Him for structure. Because sometimes He doesn't send miracles, He sends orders. Faith isn't a feeling, it's a design. It's how you move when nothing makes sense. How you build when you can't see the blueprint yet. How you trust that the nails you drive into the unknown are holding something eternal together. I learned to treat my life like architecture. My prayers became blueprints. My obedience became measured. My consistency became concrete. That's when my world stopped shaking. The real test of belief. Everyone says they have faith until faith asks for patience. It's easy to believe when everything's working. It's harder when everything's waiting. For a long time, I thought faith meant I'll get what I want. But real faith means I'll keep walking even if I don't. I had to learn to stop treating faith like a transaction and start treating it like a translation, a way to see beyond what's visible. Because faith doesn't change the storm. It changes you inside it. It doesn't always move mountains. Sometimes it builds the strength to climb them. When I understood that, discipline started to make sense again. Faith gave my grind a direction. Discipline gave my faith a language. And peace became the proof that I was finally aligned. Scripture and structure. I used to read the Bible like a checklist. Now I read it like a mirror. Every verse feels like an instruction, a recalibration, a quiet nudge that says, stay steady. Faith taught me order. Order taught me power. And power taught me peace. That became my equation. Faith equals vision. Order equals execution. Peace equals evidence. It's not mystical. It's mechanical. It's how God engineers strength inside you. Faith in business, faith in building. Faith doesn't just belong in prayer rooms. It belongs in boardrooms, too. In every trade I've placed, every design I've built, every deal I've made, faith was in the framework. Watchlist trades taught me that patience is a form of obedience. Both require trust in timing. Both demand calm in chaos. Both prove that the unseen hand of God moves through structure as much as it moves through miracles. When the market dips, when projects delay, when people don't believe, that's when you find out what your framework is made of. And if your framework is faith, you never break. You just bend, breathe, and rebuild. The spiritual system. I learned to build my life the way I built my businesses, with process. Faith doesn't replace work. It refines it. I wake up with gratitude before goals. I study before I strategize. I pray before I plan. That's my framework. Simple, sacred, sustainable. Every structure needs three things: a foundation, a framework, and a finish. Without discipline, everything stays halfway built. Now, every move I make, creative, financial, or spiritual, goes through that framework. If it doesn't align with faith, I don't touch it. Reflection. Building with belief. Ask yourself, is my faith just belief, or is it structure? Have I given God space to frame my steps? Do I trust divine order enough to slow down for it? Faith isn't just something you have. It's something you hold up. It's the frame that keeps your world from collapsing when everything outside shakes. And once I built that framework, I was finally ready to build myself. Chapter 4. Growth from the ground. Epigraph. Nothing planted in faith stays buried. Growth isn't glamorous when it begins. It's dirt and darkness and silence. It's everything happening underneath where no one can see it. For a long time, I wanted the sunlight part, the visible proof, the recognition, the bloom. But faith doesn't start in light. It starts underground. And that's where I had to grow next. Back down to the ground, back down to the foundation. The groundwork. When you strip away the noise, you find what you're really standing on. In that quiet season after surrender, I had to face what my grind had covered up. The insecurities, the impatience, the habits that looked like discipline but were just fear in disguise. So I started again, slow. Back to the roots of why I build at all. Not to prove, not to compete, to create something that speaks truth and carries light. That's where So Much Fun Collection grew into its next form. Not just clothing, not just art, but culture built on joy, resilience, and faith. A reminder that color can come from conflict, that laughter can grow from loss. I began to see that every project, every trade, every conversation is soil. What you plant in it matters. If you plant comparison, you grow confusion. If you plant gratitude, you grow growth itself. The lessons in dirt. Ground seasons test what you've learned about surrender. When you're in the ground, you're not buried, you're being planted. That shift in perspective changed everything for me. Because planted things don't panic. They wait. They trust that the weight of the soil is shaping their strength. I had to relearn how to grow without rushing. Growth without grounding leads to burnout. But growth from the ground leads to balance. Relearning the work. Starting So Much Fun Collection taught me art could be business. Building watchlist trades taught me business could be spiritual. Both grew from the same ground, discipline and faith. Both forced me to replant my identity. But as someone walking in purpose, I stopped chasing trends and started cultivating truth. I stopped forcing expansion and started feeding roots. Every creative decision, every trade, every plan started running through the same question. Is this aligned or just appealing? If it was just appealing, I left it alone. If it was aligned, I built on it. Patience, pressure, and process. The ground is heavy for a reason. Presses you into shape before it lets you rise. I had to learn that pressure wasn't punishment. It was proof I was still growing. Pressure refines. Patience defines. Process aligns. That became my formula. Every seed needs seasons. And growth that lasts can't skip any of them. Reflection. Plant, wait, rise. Ask yourself, am I rooted or just reaching? What am I planting in this season? Do I trust the process enough to stay underground until it's time to rise? Growth from the ground takes faith that what's hidden will one day be seen. It's not about rushing sunlight. It's about respecting the soil. And once I learned to grow from the ground, I stopped fearing the weight of waiting because I knew I was still rising. Chapter 5: The Market and the Mind. Epigraph. Patience is the language of both profit and peace. Markets don't lie, they reveal. They reveal fear, greed, timing, and temperament. You can fake composure in conversation, but not in a trade. That's why trading became more than business for me. It became a daily reminder that control and surrender live side by side. The watch list mindset. You learn that every setup won't be your setup. Every move isn't yours to make. And sometimes the best trade is no trade at all. That's maturity. Trading taught me that reaction is expensive. Observation is wealth. Emotion and execution. Most traders lose not because they lack knowledge, but because they lack peace. They want profit before process and excitement before execution. You can acknowledge them, but you can't let them steer. Faith helped me build that emotional discipline. Taught me that waiting isn't weakness. It's wisdom. When the market shakes, I don't panic. I pause. I remember that patterns always return, and what's meant for me will find my entry point. Every candle tells a story about patience. Every risk reminds you of surrender. Every win teaches gratitude, and every loss reminds you of limits. The market as a mirror. Trading exposed parts of me I couldn't hide. My need for control, my ego around results, my fear of missing out. But once I learned to see it spiritually, everything changed. The charts started preaching. Every resistance point felt like a lesson. Don't break what you could simply outwait. I realized that faith and the market work on the same law, timing. Both punish those who act from fear. Both require you to believe in what you can't yet see. From impulse to intent. The shift came when I stopped chasing signals and started developing systems. That's when watchlist trades matured from a platform into a principle. Wait, watch, work, win. That's the rhythm I live by. Wait because patience clears the noise. Watch because awareness breeds advantage. Work because preparation keeps you ready. Win because peace is profit too. Every trade became a small version of life. Wait for the setup. Read the environment. Trust your data. The same discipline that steadies my chart steadies my character. Spiritual equity. People think trading is all about numbers. To me, it's about trust. It's about investing not just money, but mindset. I trade with the same principles I pray with: intent, patience, humility, and gratitude. I had to stop asking, how fast can I profit? And start asking, how long can I stay consistent? Because consistency compounds faster than cash, and peace pays out every day. That's when I understood. The greatest investment you can make is in calmness. Reflection. The chart within. Ask yourself, what patterns keep repeating in my life and why? Do I trade from panic or from peace? Am I chasing wins or building wisdom? Markets and mindsets both reward the patient. They both punish the proud. And both are only as strong as your ability to stay calm in chaos. And once I learned to manage the market inside me, the numbers outside started making sense. Chapter 6: Alignment in Action. Epigraph. Peace is proof you're in position. There comes a point when understanding isn't enough. You have to embody what you've learned. Faith isn't theory, it's rhythm. Discipline isn't an idea, it's motion. Alignment begins as revelation, but it becomes real only through repetition. Living the lesson. After the noise settled and the blueprint took shape, I realized that alignment is a practice. Every day is a test of what I say I believe. Do I still trust when things slow down? Do I still move with gratitude when success returns? Do I let peace direct my pace? Alignment is the art of answering yes to those questions again and again. It's not a switch you flip. It's a path you walk. That's why I started designing my life like I design my projects. Intentionally, simply, with flow. Morning silence before motion. Prayer before planning. Reflection before reaction. Those small choices turn belief into structure. Stillness as strength. I used to think power meant being loud, being first, being seen. But stillness has its own strength. It's the pause between beats that makes the rhythm hit. When you operate from alignment, you don't rush to respond. You observe, you discern, you decide. You don't get pulled by pressure. You get guided by peace. Stillness isn't inactivity, it's accuracy. It's where clarity lives. That's how I started leading, trading, designing, and even speaking differently. I wasn't reacting anymore. Alignment and work. Every business I touch now runs on the same invisible current. Order before opportunity. If the inside isn't clear, the outside can't be consistent. That's alignment. It's spiritual, but it's also strategic. Alignment makes execution clean. It keeps your yes sharp and your no sacred. The world tells you to chase momentum. Alignment teaches you to choose direction. Because running fast means nothing if you're running the wrong way. When I finally started trusting alignment, work stopped draining me. It started feeding me. Rituals of rhythm. I created simple anchors that keep me centered no matter what's happening. Silence, the reset before noise. Study, the reminder before strategy. Stretch, the balance between body and mind. Structure, the schedule that protects my peace. These are small, but they keep me in rhythm. They remind me that alignment isn't luck, it's maintenance. If peace starts slipping, I know the system needs attention. When alignment gets tested, even now, there are moments when pressure calls me back to old habits. The urge to control, the need to prove. But I've learned to catch the feeling before it catches me. Whenever I feel chaos creeping in, I stop and ask, did I pray about this? Or did I just plan it? If the answer is plan without prayer, I pause. That pause has saved me more than any strategy ever could. Because alignment doesn't mean life won't test you. It means you're equipped to be still inside the test. Reflection. Rhythm over rush. Ask yourself, does my daily rhythm reflect what I claim to believe? Where am I confusing speed with progress? What system keeps my peace protected? Alignment isn't abstract. It's active. It's 1,000 small decisions that keep you in tune with purpose. And once I started living alignment instead of chasing it, my peace became permanent, not perfect but present. True authority isn't taken, it's trusted. Chapter 7, Leadership in the Light. Epigraph. True authority isn't taken, it's trusted. Leadership looks glamorous from a distance. Titles, attention, respect. But when you step into it for real, you realize that leading isn't about being over people, it's about being for people. Light exposes things. It shows you your reflection while everyone else is watching your example. Leadership in the light means you can't hide from yourself anymore. From control to care. When I first started leading teams, I thought direction meant dominance. I thought the louder I was, the clearer I'd be. But what I learned is that people don't follow volume, they follow vision. And they only trust vision when they trust the person carrying it. It took some hard lessons for me to learn that. Moments where I reacted instead of responded. Times when I pushed too hard because I was scared to lose momentum. That's not leadership, that's insecurity dressed as excellence. The light revealed that. It showed me that being a leader doesn't mean controlling everything. It means caring enough to guide without ego. The car conversation. I'll never forget that drive, the one that turned into a mirror. The conversation with my manager went from casual to confrontational in seconds. He said I needed therapy. I said I already had it, through God, through growth, through the lessons I live daily. But what that moment really revealed wasn't about therapy. It was about truth. He wanted literal answers. I was speaking from interpretation. He saw information. I saw revelation. That's when I realized leadership requires translation. You can't lead everyone from where you are. You have to meet them where they understand. That's what humility in leadership means, lowering your tone without lowering your standard. Servant over boss. As my vision expanded, I stopped calling myself the boss. That word never sat right with me anymore. It sounded like control. But I wasn't building empires, I was building ecosystems. A servant leader doesn't ask people to serve their power. They use their power to serve people. It's the quiet kind of leadership, the one that doesn't need to remind anyone who's in charge, because the results speak louder than authority ever could. Leadership in the light means you do the work that no one sees, so your people can stand in the spotlight you created. Faith as leadership language. Faith changed how I lead. It taught me that leadership is less about direction and more about discernment. Knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. When to push and when to protect. When to teach and when to just be an example. I learned that some of the best leadership moves happen in private. The apology no one expected, the encouragement no one asked for, the prayer no one heard. Light doesn't just shine on success. It reveals character. That's where true influence lives. Ego, excellence, and empathy. Every leader wrestles with ego, it's natural. You have to believe in your vision enough to stand firm when others doubt. But faith keeps that confidence humble. It reminds you that excellence without empathy turns into arrogance. Now, when I lead, I ask myself, am I trying to impress or impact? Impressing is easy. It feeds pride. Impacting is harder. It feeds people. I want to feed people. That's what So Much Fun Collection is about. That's what Watchlist Trades is about. They're not just businesses. They're classrooms of culture and clarity. Reflection. The light test. Ask yourself, am I leading from love or from fear? Do people feel seen or just supervised by me? What do my actions teach when no one's around to praise them? Leadership in the light means walking transparent, strong enough to lead, humble enough to listen, and wise enough to know the difference. And when I finally started leading from light instead of pressure, people didn't just follow, they grew with me. Chapter 8, The Reset Years. Epigraph. Silence is not the end of sound. It's the space that gives it meaning. There's a strange stillness that comes after long seasons of motion. The grind stops echoing, the noise fades, and you're left with yourself. No titles, no timeline, just truth. That's where I found myself during the reset years. 2024 and the first half of 2025 weren't about breaking records. They were about breaking patterns. The patterns that kept me busy but not fulfilled, productive but not peaceful, known but not grounded. The pause that saved me. I didn't plan the slowdown. It came naturally, like God pulled the emergency brake on a life that was speeding out of alignment. First, it felt wrong. I'd spent so long believing that stillness meant failure, that rest meant falling behind. But when everything finally stopped, I realized something powerful. I hadn't been resting. I'd just been recovering from chaos. There's a difference. Rest builds. Recovery just repairs. The reset years taught me how to rest in faith, not in fatigue. Silence as strategy. In that quiet season, I stopped forcing growth and started listening for guidance. Every day felt like a conversation instead of a competition. And for the first time in a long time, I started hearing clearly again. A passage I'd read 100 times that suddenly hit different. Silence wasn't absence. It was alignment. When I stopped talking, I started hearing. Losing and learning. There were losses to money, momentum, moments I thought I needed. But every loss came with a lesson that weighed more than the win ever could. I learned how to live with less validation and more vision. I learned that slowing down doesn't stop purpose, it strengthens it. And I learned that faith doesn't always feel like fire. Sometimes it feels like a whisper saying, "Be still, you're safe here." When I lost my rhythm, I found my reason. What stayed? Even in that stillness, the work didn't die. It just matured. So Much Fun collection became quieter but more intentional. Every piece started carrying meaning instead of just design. Watchlist trades became sharper, less about signals and more about psychology. I stopped trying to be seen and started making things worth seeing. The return of clarity. The silence didn't last forever. I no longer needed to prove progress. My peace was proof enough. The reset years showed me that clarity isn't found in new plans. It's found in renewed peace. And peace doesn't come when everything's figured out. It comes when you trust that it's already written. Reflection. The quiet rebuild. Ask yourself, have I mistaken rest for laziness? Where in my life is God asking me to pause, not quit? What is silence trying to teach me right now? The reset years aren't wasted years. They're where roots deepen and noise dissolves. They're the quiet seasons that remind you that everything alive needs to breathe. Chapter 9. Every Step Placed. Epigraph. Purpose doesn't rush. It aligns. Every moment before this one was preparation. The chaos, the quiet, the wins, the losses. Each step that looked random was part of a rhythm I couldn't hear yet. That's what alignment feels like when it finally clicks. Not fireworks, not perfection, just peace. The kind of peace that whispers, "You're right where you're supposed to be." The long pattern. When I look back now, the pattern is clear. Every time I tried to force a season, it fell apart. Every time I trusted God's timing, it worked out better than I planned. At first, I called those coincidences. Now I call them confirmation. Every delay had design. Every door that closed protected me from a room that wasn't mine. Every small obedience stacked into something sacred. Faith isn't just believing. It's building brick by brick with invisible blueprints. And alignment is when those invisible lines finally start forming the shape of something real. Peace is proof. I don't measure success by speed anymore. I measure it by peace. Peace means my pace honors my purpose. Peace means my discipline is finally coming from love, not fear. There's a different kind of power that comes when you move without panic. You stop hustling for validation and start walking in confirmation. That's what every step placed means to me now. It's not a slogan. It's a way of life, the system of faith. Faith is a framework. Discipline is the structure. Peace is the finish. I live by that formula. I design by it. I trade by it. I lead by it. Every project starts with prayer. Every plan gets filtered through peace. If I have to force it, it's not mine. That's how I keep the rhythm. That's how I stay aligned when the world pulls in every direction. Because alignment isn't balance, it's priority. It's knowing what deserves your full weight and what doesn't. Walking, not chasing. I used to sprint toward everything: goals, results, validation. Now I just walk. The steps are slower, but they're solid. Each one is a conversation with God. Each one says, "I trust your pace more than my plan." And that trust has built more in me than ambition ever could. When you walk with purpose, time stops feeling like pressure. It starts feeling like partnership. You stop asking, how long will it take? And start saying, however long it takes, I'll keep walking. From vision to legacy. The vision that once felt heavy now feels holy. Because it's not just mine, it's a movement. So Much Fun collection isn't just fashion. It's proof that joy and discipline can coexist. That rebellion can be refined. Watchlist trades isn't just charts and numbers. It's proof that patience can be profit. That control and calm can share the same space. Every brand, every idea, every word now flows through that same alignment. Faith first, focus next, execution always. That's how I place my steps now. Not on impulse, not on approval, on purpose, reflection. Trust the steps. Ask yourself, what does peace look like for me right now? Where have I been forcing what's meant to flow? Can I believe that even this step right here is part of my becoming? Every step placed isn't perfect. Some stumble, some stretch, but all of them still count. Because when faith guides your motion, even missteps land in alignment. And now, when I look back, I don't see wasted time. I see ordered steps. I don't see wrong turns. I see reroutes that led me right here. Chapter 10: The Legacy. Epigraph. Legacy isn't what you leave behind. It's what you live in real time. Legacy isn't some distant finish line. It's not something written on stone when you're gone. Legacy is alive. It breathes in every decision you make, every life you touch, every bit of order you bring to the chaos around you. I used to think legacy was about having something with my name on it. Now I know it's about creating something that still moves when I'm not in the room. What stays when you're gone? The things I've built, the collections, the platforms, the lessons, they're only vehicles. The engine inside them is discipline, the fuel is faith. That's what keeps them alive. So Much Fun collection carries joy on purpose. It's art that reminds people to find laughter even in struggle. Every stitch is rebellion refined, proof that play and purpose can walk hand in hand. Watchlist trades carries clarity. It teaches that patience is strategy, that stillness is strength. That's how I remind others that markets mirror mindset and peace profits best. Both are parts of the same body. Faith for the foundation, focus for the framework, execution for the expression. That's legacy, systems that keep serving after the hands that built them step back. Generational blueprints. I don't just want to inspire people. I want to equip them. Inspiration fades. Structure lasts. Legacy is the blueprint others can build on. It's how a lesson learned becomes a ladder left behind. That's why I share what I've lived, the lessons, not just the wins. Because truth has more reach than trophies ever will. I want the next creator, the next dreamer, the next believer to see that faith isn't just for Sundays. It's for strategy meetings, studio sessions, and silent nights when nothing's clear but the calling. If what I've learned can shorten someone else's learning curve, that's impact. If my growth helps someone else grow faster, that's legacy. Leadership as legacy. The kind of leadership I believe in doesn't end with applause, it echoes. It's measured by what the people who watched you do after you're gone. If they lead better because they watched how you handled loss, that's legacy. If they trust themselves more because they saw you trust God more, that's legacy. If they keep their faith when life tests them because you did, that's legacy. The light you carry teaches louder than any speech you could give. So lead with light, even when no one's looking, because someone always is. The discipline of continuation. Legacy requires maintenance. It's not a one-time moment. It's an everyday mindset. You protect your legacy by protecting your peace. You expand it by staying consistent when it's inconvenient. The testament, closing declaration, epigraph. No time wasted, every step placed. I am Brian Hill, built from fire, formed by faith, refined through pressure, defined by peace. I've fallen, folded, and found my way forward again. Not through luck, not through chance, through grace and grind working hand in hand. Every loss became language. Every setback became a strategy. Every silence became sound. I've learned that discipline isn't a cage. It's a compass. That surrender isn't weakness. It's wisdom. And that control was never power, it was fear wearing a crown. Now I walk different. Not faster. Not louder. Just clearer. Because when you finally understand the assignment, you stop chasing speed and start honoring placement. I built my world on 3 pillars: faith, focus, execution. Faith, so my vision has direction. Focus, so my peace has protection. Execution, so my purpose has proof. That's the blueprint. That's the framework. That's the frequency. I've watched my name turn into meaning, watched my ideas grow into impact, watched my failures turn into formulas. And still, I don't call myself self-made, because everything I am was already written. I just learned how to read the instructions. I am not the product of perfection. I am the result of alignment. Now I move with a rhythm only peace can produce. Every step deliberate, every silence sacred. Every day another note in the song that faith started writing long before I could hear it. I don't fear time anymore. Time is a partner. It's not chasing me. It's cheering for me. And I don't chase validation anymore. So if you see me building, understand this. Because alignment is the new ambition. Stillness is the new success. Peace is the new power. To everyone walking their own path, don't fear the ground you grow from. Don't curse the silence that strengthens you. Don't rush the steps that shape you. Every season has an assignment. Every delay has design. Every test has teaching. And the same God that guided me through fire will guide you through yours, with grace, with grit, with growth. I am Brian Hill. No time wasted. Every step placed. I still have days when doubt whispers, when the weight of what I'm building feels too heavy. But discipline answers for me. Keep showing up. That's how legacy grows. Quietly, faithfully, one day at a time. Every choice either adds to it or erodes it. That's why I treat even small actions like investments, each one compounds. Living the message. The message is simple. Faith and focus make things real. Execution gives them life. But love is what keeps them eternal. Everything I build from love. Love for God, for order, for people, for purpose. That's what I want people to feel in every design, every post, every word, every room I walk into. Because one day the brands will evolve, the markets will shift, the noise will fade, but the message will still echo. Faith first, focus next, execution always. That's the heartbeat of my legacy. Reflection. What will remain? Ask yourself, what will remain when I'm not in the room? Who am I building for beyond myself? Am I leaving noise or am I leaving order? Legacy isn't about permanence. It's about presence. It's about showing up so fully in your purpose that your footsteps become instructions for someone else. And when I finally looked at everything I had built, not the products, but the people, the peace, the principles, I realized this was never just my story. It was preparation for someone else's.
Thank you everybody for coming in, even if it was no one. But I know God is always watching. Thank you, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Everything. CEO watch this trade out.